Hello, Jamie back from Inky&Scrappy with my Let's Start Stamping series. This is like video 3 of a small series inside of my larger Let's Start Stamping series, right? So we are playing with, well, since I can't find the original ones, they're on my desk. I'm literally filming this within, 3 days of, or a week of the first one. Anyways, we're using the Whimsy stamps. Terrific Christmas tickets in this series. This one is the Halloween one, and then of course the dies, the coordinating dies that go with it. So the one that cuts out the full ticket tag. I mean, I have the cutouts, I just can't, I don't know where my dies are currently. They're here somewhere. Anyways, are we a hot mess today? Yes, yes we are. So we have this die which does like the cutout, and which kind of we did in the first one, and we did all of those ticket tags, and then we've been kind of separating them and building from there. We did do a shaker card. Well, here, I have them right here, so let's pull them all out. So we did this one in our first video, mixing it with some Lawn Fawn, the hot cocoa mug, kind of using that hot cocoa ticket, and then the old fashioned sleigh ride for a cute Christmas card. Not necessarily Christmas. This one definitely could go for like birthday, to have like a December birthday or a Christmassy or winter themed card, not necessarily Christmas. This one of course is definitely Christmas, and it's got that, we pulled in a Tim Holtz set for the other stamps, kind of kept this one fairly minimal, but we did some ink blending on the cutout pieces for this one. So keep that in mind, it's definitely a possibility to use it that way. You can also use the original die for this one as a stencil. You don't actually have to buy the stencils that go with this set. I don't have the stencils, so I will probably be using those at some point in time in that way. Also in that video we did a shaker with that ticket tag cutout one, and then of course using my failed attempt. It wasn't really a failed attempt. I didn't like it as much as, the ink kind of smushed a little bit more than I would have liked for using the ticket tags as focal points in my card bases. And so therefore this one we turned into a shaker, added a whole bunch of shaker bits, and did those layers on top of layers, and got a cute little Christmas shaker. Definitely think about tying a bow or a ribbon around there if you're not mailing it. You can if you're gonna mail it. It's just gonna, this one's already probably gonna require extra postage, but it just does leave that extra layer of difficulty there. This glue did not hold very well. As I re-glue, because otherwise we will have, this one doesn't have glitter, so we're okay there, but I don't know why it didn't hold. Anyways, so set those three off to the side, and let's get back with this one. So this one has the Made with Love, Always Fresh Gingerbread Bakery, I can't talk today, bread, cookies, cupcakes, cakes, and then the free ticket cookie on the side. And so I thought it would be fun to pull in either the Sprinkled with Joy set from Lawn Fawn or the Baked with Love. And so the Sprinkled with Joy set definitely has the cookies, right? So you could do the gingerbread man, kind of, the hearts, the cookie dough, that sort of stuff. You could just do, of course, here we go, as I botch all of the things. Okay, you could definitely just use that oven and then maybe put a tray with cookies on the inside, and then of course have the ticket tag, a lot like we did that first one style wise, where your image is going to be up top and of course your ticket tag would be down below, kind of sort of. So that one is definitely an option. I think I'm going with the Baked with Love one just because I love the little mixer that's in there. I think it's adorable. And then we'll probably just pull in maybe the piping bag and a cupcake or something smaller. We'll probably do 3 and kind of do that similar to that first one, kind of making a mini scene. We can even do the flour, the butter, there's many options, shall I say it that way, but it would be fun. I just thought it would be fun. I love that mixer, so that's the one I'm using today. So let's start stamping. I'm gonna just use some block stamping today. I'm hoping it works well. I did switch to the Pink Fresh Detail Black. My ink pad seems a little dry for a new one. I did pick up the re-inker, but I'm trying to, I flipped it upside down to store it, hoping that it gives me a better impression. Now these have already been inked many times over, so they should be juicy, I guess, or not juicy, but they should take ink a lot better than a new stamp. The new stamp kind of just, I think it repels a little bit more. But I'm just going to check to make sure it looks like it's covered well with ink. And then we're just going to plop that on there. I'm going to hold it on there a little bit, especially if you're having troubles with your ink, maybe not seeping into the paper, or it's not giving you that crisp image that you'd really love right away. I've got something on this one. But if you hold it on there, let it sit a little bit instead of up and down really fast, you might get a better impression. Just a tip for if you're struggling. Sometimes we struggle. Hello, my name is Jamie. I struggle frequently. Okay, I think we're gonna do the flower and the, where's the butter? Butter and the flour. And a couple of eggs. We'll just do baking ingredients, things you would find in a bakery. And that sounds very much like the $10,000 pyramid. Do they even have that one anymore? I know they rebooted it, but I'm sure it was like a $100,000 pyramid because, you know, $10,000 in the 90s was a lot of money. $10,000 now, still a lot of money, but it just doesn't sound like a lot of money. It goes faster. So I got my flour sack. I'm just gonna switch these around a little bit. I'm gonna do a few eggs, only because the eggs will probably end up being filler, kind of like the butter will probably end up being a filler for stuff that's on my card or in my card front, kind of finishing that scene. Because it's a smaller image, right? So figuring that that mixer is going to be that focal point and the flour can kind of sit back behind. Do I want to do, we'll do a cupcake on there. I was debating bringing in the other set, but we're going to try to keep it to one set. So I'm just going to do the plain muffin or cupcake. My oldest used to call muffins muff cakes, because they're not cupcakes without the frosting, right? But so we call them muff cakes. Or any cupcake that didn't have frosting would be called a muff cake and not a muffin or a cupcake. Yep. Okay. Okay, so I figured out my marker color. Sorry, the battery went dead. How to switch it. Kind of like my battery, it's gone dead. I need to switch it. Anyways, I pulled in some markers. I'm kind of going with the red, so I'm going to go with R, and the new numbers is R215 and R015 or 15. I think those two will make a nice transitional shade. For my butter color, I went with Y48, which is in the new one, which is in the 36 skin tones in the Ohuhu line. For my tans, and so I did, let me see if I can find them in here. Okay, so I did Y43, which is also E191, 3, and the other one, let's see here, 288, which is E47 now, and I went with E357. 357 is E511 in the new ones. I went with that one for my gingerbread tone. I think I'll make a gingerbread cupcake. I might also use that one kind of for the flour sack, possibly, or my eggs. I'm thinking my eggs because, you know, I have chickens. We have brown eggs. I will need to bring in some cool grays, so let's grab those quick before I forget. So let's go with the BG042, which I don't have those numbers re-entered, I guess to say, so bear with me on that one. It's the lighter gray tones in there. So, okay. And of course, I'm recording in late afternoon. So, we're hoping that the sun behaves itself for a little while longer here. So, I'm going to start with my bowl on this one, and I'm going to make it gray. So, like my KitchenAid mixer bowl. Starting with my first layer of gray, I'm going to let that dry a little bit, come back in with a second layer of gray. And do that on both sides here. And then I'm going to come in with that lighter tone. You don't have to, you could use all the same gray, come in and do that one a third time, and you'll get darker on the outside and lighter on the inside. So I'm just going to come in with that lighter tone, kind of hit the outside a little bit just because I missed it. It'll just give it a little bit more of a shine look to it. And then for the mixer, I'm going to go with red. My new mixer is red. So my old KitchenAid mixer used to be white, and it died a horrible death last year. I think like right by Christmas time. I think it was actually, I was making stuff to bring over to my in-laws. Like, of all things, I was making taco dip. So literally just cream cheese, right? I was whipping cream cheese. And it died. And I'm like, how? You know, I expected it to die when I was making cookies, or maybe even like, I don't know, gluten-free sourdough or something. You know, something that had some stiffness and girth to it that is, you know, would definitely bog it down, and I would have expected it to die. Then, no. It waited until, you know, I was trying to be quick about making taco dip, and no such luck. Well, thank you, markers. I didn't need you anyways. The noise was markers falling to the floor because, you know, I didn't put away the markers that I just got done using yesterday. Yeah. I'm still surrounded by piles of stuff. Because let's be real, that's 100% how my my desk looks in here. It's cluttered, like my mind. It's all good. Okay, so I think we're gonna be good here. Is my tones, I probably could have worked it a little bit better. Reds can be kind of fickle sometimes. That, and I think my coral red is probably not as juicy as it once was. Now I'm going to come back in with the darker of the two grays just because I left this area as kind of highlight, low light, and so I want a pinstripe. I don't want to make it all red. Definitely an option, just I like the contrast on there. So we're done with that one. Let's go on to the butter stick. I'm just using that one color for the butter stick. So ultimately, I'm going to kind of color this whole thing in. And I will say this ink, the Pink Fresh Detail Black, is a little bit better. I'm not going to say it's perfect because I did catch, like if I do a double stamp, it will kind of streak if it's not fully dry yet. But this one has been working a lot better for me than the other. So I just came back in with that yellow in on the end there in like the crisscross pattern, kind of darkening it up in spots, but I didn't darken up the whole thing. For this one, I'm going to come in with, I think, the lighter one first. And I'm just going to color in the whole egg. And if you're new to alcohol markers, you can definitely try that method where you color in with your lightest and then you come in with your darker tones. But I'm doing it this way because I wanted to add some dot detail. I have brown eggs. Sometimes we get spotted brown eggs, which are kind of fun. And sometimes we get really dark brown eggs. And sometimes we get the lighter ones. So I can kind of switch up my egg colors here just to give me a little bit more variety. And then I'm going to go back over the whole thing again. It's going to lighten that darkest tone, but because I did a second layer kind of in the middle, that's going to be a little bit darker than the outside. And then of course this one I'm just going to kind of bring a little bit of a shadow underneath, and that'll dry back a little bit. And this one, to kind of blend in those darker marks, I'm just going to kind of color over the top of them again. And that's that one. So for my flower sack here, I'm going to come in with my lightest cream color and just kind of add a little bit of shadow towards the bottom, and then I'm just going to do some dot detail on top. I'm not going to color the whole thing. Flower's white most of the time. And then of course the green I'm going to bring in, and I think for the green I'm going to add it in two places just because I feel like I don't have enough green. And so I'm going to add the label on my flower bag here as green. So not coloring the whole flower bag, just the label part of it in that green tone to kind of pull in the green from the other, from the ticket tag that I plan on using to go with this one. And then of course I'm going to also bring in that green for my cupcake wrapper. So I'm going to color in the whole thing, and then I'm just going to come in and trace those shade lines again and maybe do an undershade for the top. Now for this one I decided it was going to be gingerbread, so I'm going to come in with my darkest brown tone and just color that one kind of all in one here. I'll probably go over some areas more than once. I don't like how that So I did do a third layer towards the bottom, kind of went over the whole thing a second time to kind of even it out. It looks streaky to me. I didn't like the streaks, so that's kind of how I got rid of those streaks. And then for my actual flower sack here, I'm going to come in with that lighter brown tone. And kind of do the fold over. I'm kind of bringing in a little bit of maybe some texture in there, maybe some folds and wrinkles if you like that look. I'm thinking old flower sack, like the cloth one, that's just kind of has that, the folds and the wrinkles in it, which is kind of fun. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to come back with a second layer here. And then I'll do the same on the bottom, just kind of coloring all of that in, making sure to go over those areas that I've colored already one more time because it's going to darken that. And then of course going over that just one time so I get that light layer, and we'll go like that. Does anyone remember cloth? Is it cloth flower sacks? Like way back in the day, I remember Grandma having the cloth flower sacks, and they were just, I don't know. She would have the cloth towels, like the ones that she used to make from. I don't have the coordinating die set for this one. Oh, okay, so I will run these through my scissors. I'm not going to make you watch me cut them all out because it takes me way too long. Other than that, I'll be back. Okay, so I have my images all cut out. I'm going to bring in my card base here. I'm going to go, I think, this way with this one instead of the vertical, so going horizontal with it instead. I picked this one just because it kind of looks like maybe kitchen, like earlier, you know, 70s maybe, possibly. Kitchen background wallpaper my grandma had. I'm trying to think what grandma. So both of my grandmas lived in, you know, older houses, but I remember my grandma Leona's kitchen was like the green, I don't know if it was green. Was it green tile? It wasn't tile. It was like linoleum, but it was like really old linoleum. And it looked like chipped, like a chip that you'd like pour into, like it had like little odd shapes that were like poured into cement, kind of sort of look to it. It was linoleum, but that's what I remember it looking like, I think. Or maybe that was her countertops. It's been a while, okay? Forgive me. So I'm gonna bring in, I think, some brown. Let's go with, let me find it. Some, do I wanna do, tea dye is gonna be a little bit lighter. I think I wanna go, I don't know if I wanna go walnut stain. Either walnut stain or, just because I'm pretty sure the other one is under the pile that I threw off to the side. The vintage photo would have probably been my choice here, but you know, since this is me and my desk is a mess and I'm not gonna stop everything to look for it, we're just gonna go with walnut stain. So I'm gonna bring in that walnut stain ink, distress ink, and just kind of bring this in from the sides, giving it that distressed look. I'm going heavy distress on this one, at least in my ink shading. I just think it's going to highlight that center a little bit more, which is kind of what I want. I want my images in the center kind of highlighted. And I kind of want this to just kind of not be such a bright white and just kind of blend into. So it kind of shades in to light there. Now I'm also going to bring in my ticket tag that we did in the first video with this one. And I'm going to also just kind of ink the edges, not very sparingly. Well, very well, right? We're gonna gingerbread them up. And then of course I do like to fold this one and then flip so you get that darker right along where your inside line is there. Let me go a little bit darker. And so you don't need to re-ink your brush very often. You can pull a lot of ink out of there. I use it on my glass mat. The glass mat or a plastic mat is going to give you a little bit more, shall I say, leverage or a little bit more mileage with your ink, because it's going to pick it up off of those surfaces and put it onto your paper surface. So keep that in mind. I'm not going to add that to the base yet. I'm just going to kind of build it from here and kind of go. So I'm going to start with my ticket tag on the bottom on this one. I could totally put it towards the top and have my other things underneath, but I like using it kind of as like my countertop in this case. So we're going to start with that one, if we can get glue out. And we're going to add this one onto here. And so you see how I have, it's really dark all the way around and then it's kind of lighter in the middle there, and that's definitely what I want. I want my colored items to definitely kind of stand out. I would maybe go down a little bit more with this one. I didn't adjust for height on my mixer. Okay. Not down a whole lot more, just a little bit. This way my line from here to there is going to be similar from my line from there to there. So that's kind of how I wanted to do it. I'm also going to probably pop up my mixer on this one. Let me grab one more here. And peel off the backings. Okay, now before I place this one, I want to kind of build my scene. I probably could have started it the other way, but I want the flower to kind of be behind, maybe up a little bit from that one. So I'm just going to touch it onto that before I get too far. I will add glue to all of it, and the rest should be able to tuck in and behind and or on top of. So I'm going to center my little mixer here. And then glue that one down. I can either tuck in a butter here, or I can do the butter over here. And then of course we have, but we still have this one, so I'm kind of thinking that one to come over here. My butter maybe to go kind of back behind over here. And so I know my green is here and my green is there, and so that's kind of why I went that way with that one instead, just because I don't want all of my green elements to be on one side. I kind of want to spread them out. I will pop this one up as well. But before I get too far, so I'm going to pop the cupcake up, muff cake, cupcake, all the things, right? I'm going to first, whoops, so I know where it's going to be, right? So I'm going to just turn that one over here, knowing that I want that one popped up. I'm going to come in here with my eggs and kind of tuck those in. Reverse tweezers for the save, because my pork chop fingers. As I stick my fingers to everything. Oh, story of my life today. Okay. We're gonna tuck that one up there. And this one, I think I kind of want to put it up and behind. So, funny egg story. My chickens decided last week or the week before, I think it was like 3 weeks ongoing, right? The doors to the machine shed were open because field work. And so the one day I let them out and the one chicken just goes booking for the machine shed. I was like, okay. So I followed her because I was suspicious. I was highly suspect of her. Yeah. She had been sneaking into the machine shed since the doors were open and laying her eggs behind a board. So I, luckily it was nice and cool out, so the eggs were fine. I did feed some to the cats, like fry them up and feed them to the little kitties. Because I was like, I don't know how long they've been back there. Granted, I'm pretty sure they were mostly all hers, and then of course only back there for a week and a half maybe. And so last night, my child goes, "Mom, your chickens, they were all in the machine shed." I'm like, "What do you mean? The doors have been closed, like, for the last week." He's like, "No. When I went in there," because he had to put something in there yesterday, they were washing up equipment. He went in there yesterday, and he's like, "Yeah, I went in there, and there was like 5 or 6 chickens in there." I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, the door was closed. I don't know how they got in there. They're sneaking underneath the one door in the back." So she figured out a new way to get in there. So today I went on an egg hunt, call me the Easter Bunny, and found her eggs again behind her board again. So I guess that is now on my daily go pen up the chickens and go check for eggs in all the places. This is not the first time they have hidden eggs on me. Yeah. At least now I know where they're at and I can actually get to these ones, so yeah, it's fine. So I finished up my little scene. I added it onto my card base here. My measuring, like always, was perfection, so I fix it. I do like the Tim Holtz Tonic Studio guillotine. It's got the ledge here and the ledge here, so if you're cutting something hard, you would probably pull it this way, so you can just cut from here to there, and you don't have to worry about it sliding down, like, because the pressure. So this one is my favorite for cutting down card fronts that maybe I didn't put on properly the first time. Yeah, we all know how that one goes. Sentiment for this one, I'll probably go with a Christmas sentiment. It's got Christmas colors, of course, so I'll find something in my stash and put that in there. Maybe do a couple of cupcakes or maybe the mixer on the inside and, you know, do something Christmassy. I mean, we could definitely pull in the set for the May Your Holidays Be Sprinkled with Joy. Oh, we are all separate. Okay. Well, part of that's separate because I cut it apart. It very well could be because I cut it all apart. What? Me? No. Always. Always cut your sentiment apart when in doubt. No. Do it with, I don't mind cutting my sentiments apart. I like making my own sentiments, and so therefore, if I'm cutting apart one, just know that you, as long as you are careful with your cuts, you can definitely scooch them back together. So yes, this one is one that I do believe that I cut apart, only because the width and joy is definitely, I think the sprinkled might not be, but the other part with joy. Do I want to do, I'll do 3 lines here. Sometimes it's because I want to make my sentiment a little bit shorter so it fits in a specific area a little bit better. So I'm just going to line that up as I see fit here, close my door, see if it is lined up. It's lined up fairly good. I'm content with my lineup job there. I'm going to bring in the VersaFine Onyx Black, stamp that one onto the inside. I think we did pretty good on the first one there. May your holidays be sprinkled with joy. Do I want to bring in an image with this one? I think we can bring in this one. I'm kind of bring in that one. So let's clean this one up. Remove. So I did bring in the Baked with Love stamp set just for, oh no, is this one? This isn't the Baked with Love, this is the other one. What's this one called? This one is Sprinkled with Joy for my sentiment on this one. Only because the other one's sentiments were more, which I could have used, right? Birthday. I could have made it a birthday or Baked with Love on the inside, but you could definitely just go with a generic Christmas sentiment for this one as well. And I'm going to bring in my brown tone. So I'm just going to cheat, bring in that walnut stain ink again and add that one onto there. Do I have, there's sprinkles. There's the little hearts on here, so I'm going to bring in that little heart. Find a little mini block, maybe. I have mini blocks. Can I find mini blocks? I have lots of big ones. I'm not finding my little ones. I'm just going to bring in that little teeny tiny heart and grab some red ink here. So I'm going to bring in Lumberjack Plaid for this one and just sprinkle a couple of little hearts on top. So I'll probably just go with 3 over there and then maybe do a couple of little sprinkles. I'm going to have to rotate because it's going to get in the way here. Just add a couple of those onto the sentiment. It just adds a little bit. It's a little touch. You don't have to do it, but it's just kind of cute. It adds that, I don't know, what I think of as like the little touches that just make a card that much more, I don't know, perfect. A little bit more. Even if you mess up, sometimes just adding those little touches just kind of gets, I don't know, they're just pretty. Do we want to do Stickles, Stardust Stickles? We're going to do a little bit of glitter glue on this one. This is a great way to add a little bit of shimmer and shine to your little baked goods, right? So just adding a little bit of glitter on top. You don't need a lot. I'm not actually squeezing out. I just put a little on top, and then I just use the tip on this one to kind of frost my cupcake, my muff cake on this one. And so it just adds that little bit of shimmer and shine. I'm going to also add just a little bit onto the flour bag here. Of course, then it looks more like sugar than flour, but whatever. And so usually I do 3 points, but I think I'm okay with just those 2 points. You could definitely add some onto your ticket tag down below, but it just kind of adds a little bit of a finishing touch onto that one. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one today. It's definitely different than my other ones, but kind of a little bit more scene building with just, you know, some of those baked goods and not necessarily with a critter or a creature, but it's kind of fun. It shouldn't, you know, it doesn't have to be over the top, right? So you wouldn't have to go this far with it, but it's kind of a fun little gingerbread with something different to do with those ticket tags. And I mean, we got 4 out of them already, so hopefully you've enjoyed this mini series inside the series. Will I do some more? I have a couple more ideas. I think I'll put them on the fast voiceover variety, just because the ideas I have are going to take a little bit more time. I have some non-Christmas ideas that will require a little bit more time. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Have an amazing rest of your day. Keep getting inky. Bye.